Hey, welcome. So, you think you know the stories in the Quran? Well, we're about to look at them in a way that might just change everything. We're going to uncover an unseen pattern, this incredible repeating loop that connects every single prophet in a way you've probably never seen before.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. What if the stories of Adam, Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, what if they aren't just separate events in history? What if they are all just different stages of the exact same story playing out over and over again? Okay, to really get this loop, you need to know the two main players in this cosmic drama. On one side, you have the Ruh, the divine spirit. Think of it as pure knowledge, a command directly from Allah. And on the other side, you've got the nafs, which is our ego, our individual self. It's where our pride and our desires live. The clash between these two is what drives this whole thing.
And this whole drama? It kicks off right at the very beginning. The story of Adam isn't just about a mistake with some fruit. No, it's the origin point, the first iteration of this entire pattern we're going to unpack.
So, Allah gives Adam the names, which is a really potent symbol for divine knowledge. And boom, right there, we get the first test. Will creation submit to this knowledge? Iblis, who's made from fire, basically says, no way. His pride won't let him bow down to Adam's form of clay. And that's it. The fundamental conflict is set. Knowledge versus the fire of arrogance.
Now, you might think that was a one-time deal, right? That first choice between knowledge and pride? Not even close. It echoes through time, creating these incredible, almost perfect mirrors in the lives of the prophets who came later.
I mean, just look at this parallel. It's stunning. In Nuh's time, water is the tool of salvation. The ark saves the believers, while the flood takes care of the arrogant. Fast forward a few centuries, and the exact same pattern repeats with Musa. The sea splits open to save the believers, and then that same water comes crashing down on Pharaoh and his prideful army. Water becomes the symbol of divine mercy that literally separates truth from falsehood.
But here's the twist. The pattern doesn't just end with a happy rescue. In fact, that's where the next test begins. After witnessing this incredible mercy, what do you think happens? Well, in both stories, the communities of Nuh and Musa pretty much immediately fall into ingratitude.
And we see this theme of mercy again in another amazing mirrored pattern, this time all about sacrifice. You have Ismail, offered up in an act of total submission, and you have Isa, offered up by the very people who rejected him. And in both cases, right at the last possible second, Allah's mercy steps in. Ismail is ransomed, Isa is raised. It's proof that mercy always wins out over what looks like final wrath. So you have to understand, these aren't just random echoes or cool coincidences. They're all powered by a central mechanism, a divine pivot point that forces a choice between the ego's pride and the spirit's submission.
You know, ever stop to think about why fire and lightning appear so often in these stories? It's not just random scary punishment. The source material presents it as a precise divine tool. It's an instrument designed for one specific purpose, to test our submission.
And this test, it follows a kind of blueprint, 4 clear stages. First, the trial shows up as fire or lightning. Second, a choice has to be made, pride or submission. Third, you get the outcome. Submission leads to safety, pride leads to destruction. And finally, the ultimate point is revealed. Allah's mercy was the whole point of the test to begin with.
The most powerful example of this has to be Ibrahim. He's literally thrown into a raging fire, a clear tool of wrath. But because his submission is so absolute, the very nature of the trial completely transforms. The fire is commanded to become coolness and peace. Submission literally changes reality.
And this isn't a one-off. We see the exact same pattern with Musa's people at Mount Sinai. They arrogantly demand to see Allah, and wham, they're struck dead by lightning. That's the wrath that follows pride. But then what happens? They're revived. That's the mercy that follows the lesson. See? Wrath and mercy are two sides of the same coin in this divine test of submission.
Okay, so we've seen all these individual echoes and patterns. Now for the really cool part. We're going to connect them all into one single grand cycle that shows you the true hidden structure of the prophetic story.
You know, we're used to seeing the prophets like a timeline in a history book, a straight line. Adam gets the knowledge, Musa brings the law, Muhammad, peace be upon him, delivers the final message. But that's only half the picture. It's not that simple. Because what if that line isn't a line at all? What if the connection is more like a Mobius strip? You know that crazy shape that looks like it has 2 sides, but it only has one? It's an infinite loop where if you follow it long enough, you realize the end is actually the beginning.
So when you map it out like a cycle, it all clicks into place.
It's not just one event after another, it's a series of interconnected tests. For example, the story of Lut's wife and the story of Miriam become this profound test of purity right inside the prophet's own household. And Eunice and the belly of the fish? That becomes a direct lesson in patience for the final messenger, Muhammad, peace be upon him. Every story reflects another. It all connects.
Okay, here's the most important part. This isn't just some interesting lesson in ancient history. This pattern, this repeating loop, is just as relevant right now. For every single one of us, there is a modern echo. Let's go back to Bani Israel for just a second, because their story is a massive warning sign. I mean, think about it. They witnessed one of the greatest miracles ever. They were saved from a tyrant by the sea literally splitting in half. An unbelievable, undeniable act of divine mercy.
And what was their response? Their first act after being given freedom and safety? They built a golden calf. Right after seeing overwhelming mercy, they chose profound, immediate ingratitude. It's almost hard to believe.
And this is where it hits home for us. The insight from these connections is so powerful. Every prophet's test repeats in another, and we are living the same story as Bani Israel, saved but ungrateful. That pattern of incredible mercy followed by total forgetfulness, well, that's our story now.
So the final question really isn't about them. It's about you. It's about me. Think about your own life. You have been saved by countless mercies, big ones, small ones, ones you saw and ones you'll never even know about. You've been brought to safety. So the question is, what comes next?